really cool that everyone loves. So, and now it says live.
Now we're live.
I don't understand. We weren't live.
Okay.
No.
We practiced. Hi, everybody. So we weren't live. We're
It's
restarting.
okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's different stream.
It's different stream. Okay. So up until now, what we said mattered.
I don't know.
You don't know. All right. Well, in case this is the first time you see all of us, then I'm Yael Tamar, co-CEO, co-founder of Solid Block. We do real estate backed tokens, and we're entering the metaverse space. And I have how do you pronounce your name? Full name?
Vlastimil Venslik.
Okay. And Aaron Carroll representing the e-gaming industry. And we've been talking about really interesting things, which you may or may not have heard. Why don't you guys just give a sentence about yourselves again? Because also some people join mid conference. So Vlast, give us your time.
So I am a CEO of Odin GG. We focus on esports analytics and odds making. So basically, when you bet on something on esports, you bet on our odds. We provide lines to bookmakers, and we experiment with crypto and NFT engagement for esports punters.
All right, fantastic, Aaron.
Aaron Carroll. I'm the CTO for Pro League GG, a esports platform that strives to create a little bit of transparency in the esports world and provide a path to pro for aspiring pros and pro players on esports with tournaments, streaming, and even a little betting that'll eventually come.
Okay, very cool. So I'm going to continue with the previous thought we had about NFTs and kind of recap what the role of NFTs is in the gaming, and then we can explore a few other topics and see how that goes. So we were saying that NFTs have an obvious value in in the gaming space, in the esports space, rather, where users are able to create, craft, if you wish, buy, sell, which creates its own economy. Now, I noticed personally that the most successful companies out there, especially if they have a social aspect, are the ones that are creating their own economy, their own finance. Even the regular companies like Google, Facebook, Amazon, all of them are heavily involved in creating and in making sure that they control transactions within their own space. So, with crypto, with NFTs, companies, esports companies seem to be able to create engagement and economics. Now, I wanted to ask you guys about the economics within the esports space. How the presence and the emergence of NFTs altered economic considerations for business models for the gaming esports space, whether you are now able to create new sales funnels. So share this with anybody here, entrepreneurs that are creating their own esports companies. Aaron.
So if you're creating your own esports companies, and we're talking about NFTs and cryptocurrencies and wagering, how are you going to accept it? What blockchains are you going to? Is all like super important, because that's where your market's at. So when making that decision, if you're making that decision, right, you've got to look at that. Like, what's the easiest thing? What's the fastest? What's the cheapest for the user, right? Because if you're betting on something, you don't want to have to pay a $6 transaction fee for gas and everything else that's going on just to place a $10 bet, right? Or whatever that happens to be. And if you're going to be betting NFTs, then that gets even higher. So looking at layer 2s is pretty important as well, because they're significantly cheaper, at least until Ethereum 2.0 comes out. or if you decide to move to Solana or Cardano.
Hmm.
So
Awesome. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah. Okay. So I see NFT right now as a more marketing tool for the bookmakers, because it's something you can give to the bettors and give them as something interesting. You don't own like the whole chain of the transaction of everything, but it's something how you can attract other guys, other people which typically want to bet on your side, and it's something how you can distinguish yourself among the crowd. But you mentioned like the completely controlled economic, and there is the horse racing game. It's called Z something, and they basically breed your horses,
Actually,
and
very interesting.
and everything is based on NFTs, and you can swap them, and you can bet on the outcome. So this is the great example of usages of the NFTs, and the closed economic cycle, because everything is happening between the NFTs. You can sell your horses, you can breed your horses, and and this is something we are really actively exploring right now, because it's this connection of the NFTs betting. It's very sexy. It's very interesting. It's not probably esports, I guess, because it's like horse racing, but it's very interesting for the younger audience, for the geeks, for people who know NFT works, and this is something where the industry will move. There will be more complicated games and more engagement thing, maybe more betting. But this is the nice cross section of the closed economy cycle, NFTs, and wagering.
I love that you mentioned the horses, because in the virtual world, we don't have to have horses racing. We can have some fictional creatures from Mars
Yeah.
racing each other, right? So, but I guess there's still some appeal to some tradition.
I
So,
believe I believe they started with horses because it's the easiest thing, right? You know how horses look like, you know how they behave, you know what to expect. So you can onboard a lot of people who just don't need to learn how your Mars creature do this and how they fight and how they run or whatever. So it's much easier for everybody to understand it. It's similar like to soccer, FIFA, and League of Legends, right? Everybody knows soccer. Everybody can play it on the PlayStation, but who can play the League of Legends? You need to learn the heroes and so on. So it's much easier to onboard existing customers.
I love that. I love that. And as an animal lover, I hope everybody moves to, horse races. So, let's address an elephant, I would say, in the room. Are there any environmental concerns around NFTs and in general using crypto in gaming? Is gaming in general environmentally, well, e-gaming in general environmentally friendly space or not?
Um, that's an interesting question, right? So if we talk about like esports and gaming, and we talk about using NFTs and crypto, right? Everything comes down to the electrical power that has to power all of these things,
Yeah.
right? Um, so if we transition to an esports centric, sports world, right? Yeah, the electricity used by the players, by the servers, by people watching, right, is pretty extensive. And if you're running on a blockchain, then you've got all of the uh, different forms, whether that's proof of stake, proof of work, um, etc., that validate these chains, right? Conversely, though, most of these chains have realized that is not what the world wants. So you've got faster ones using proof of stake that use significantly less hash power, less electricity um, to do that, right? So if we look at the carbon offset of what it takes for 1 million people to show up at a football match, soccer match, whatever. And then we look at the carbon offset for what it takes you to watch that at home. I think that watching at home is probably currently significantly less from a carbon
Right.
usage standpoint.
True.
Um,
And for
so
many more people, right? Makes
mm-hmm,
it accessible.
it,
Um,
it does.
Awesome. So my feel is just like in almost any other industry, ESG has become super important, especially in mining crypto. ESG, that's environmental social governance space where a lot of investment is coming to. and a lot of mining companies that are using greener technologies. So do you feel like this is going to be a big space for investment in anybody here, like VCs that invest in games? That's something that they should be looking at. Last, what do you think?
It's definitely interesting space because when you think about crypto, that crypto is banned in China. You cannot mine it, you cannot sell it, whatever, and now everybody like need to move somewhere. So I believe there's a big opportunity to start mining crypto in a friendly way, eco-friendly way, and to find renewable sources of energy and other things. So if you can crack it, it will be very interesting because then you will have all the miners coming to you and they say, okay, I have this eco-friendly mining operation, and if there are ways how to do it, it's very interesting to space to be, and I think it's generally connected to the Green Deal, infrastructure things, and so on, because I believe this is everything connected. So you need to have the more sustainable approach to the electricity making.
That's awesome. And in terms of investment, are we do we think that companies that use NFTs and say inherent coins within the games, are they going to be able to function in a self-funded manner, or are they always going to be reliant? Are big games always going to be reliant on big money, VC money, or do you think we'll be able to move into like have a game that's funded by the fans? Is that something that exists right now? A big game that was funded by the fans?
So you mean like esport game or
Yeah,
what?
like an esport in general. If you have any examples of that kind of trend that started up with ICOs in 2016, 2017, I really want to know if any of those self-funded ventures made it big. And on top of that, with emergence of NFTs, are we going to be able to sell enough assets early on in the game's development and deployment to kind of fund the big marketing spend that a game needs or esports platform needs to become well, or either mainstream or pretty big in the industry? Blast, what do you think?
Well, there's the big ICO wave, which just passed away, and I'm actually curious how many companies did make something they promised. Actually, I
Yeah.
know a lot betting companies who did the big ICOs and just did not deliver, and they were sued by the SEC or need to return the money. So maybe something like this is coming to the NFT area as well. But I think people are much smarter now. They can distinguish what's probably fraud, what's probably not fraud. But they can think about things because they have experienced this big ICO wave. So I think that there can be some NFT examples which can get a lot of money and can work sustainably. For example, the horses I mentioned, the Zedran, that they are making a lot of money and they can work. But will this be mainstream? I don't know. It's too soon to say. They are doing good, but we need to wait until the NFTs move to the mainstream people. So everybody like my grandma can buy NFTs and then work how this works. So until then, it will be problematic for them.
Let's have her first buy a Bitcoin, and then we'll see about the NFTs. So okay, cool. So Aaron, are you in the consensus? It seems like Blast thinks that we still probably need VCs and other investors to make big games or big sports platforms. Are you in consensus with that?
I think there's a mix, right? So if we look at the way the markets work with a lot of these NFTs and whatnot, it's a huge portion of this community, right? And you can raise large amounts of capital that way, really large amounts of capital that way, to do it. The hardest part is that a lot of these communities and a lot of these developers, and I use that term very loosely here, people that start these things don't understand like what actual development looks like, how long it takes, and the reality of it. And so you run a real hazard of your community getting impatient because your average timeline is probably at the bottom end to build anything like this 6 months, and that's real fast. And the crypto communities are extraordinarily fickle, and they want to know when Lambo, when Moon, Diamond Hands, right? Like, and they're looking for a lot of that quick return. So you kind of run a risk there of losing community due to like the build time that some of this stuff takes. But you've got projects like Star Atlas, which kind of started out as just a simple NFT thing and has grown and grown and grown. NFT Legends is another one that's very ground roots right now, and we'll see if they actually become something. And the only other one that I can kind of think of, and I don't know where their funding came from, is Gods Unchained. They did a Genesis pack release that funded a lot of the development. But I think that ultimately what ends up happening for these ones is they start there and then they end up getting VC funding or larger funding from outside the community. Because, I mean, this stuff's expensive and it's hard to build and it requires a lot of technical expertise to do it. I think it's possible, but like most startups, I think it's, it's a 1% chance, but I don't think it's impossible by any means, especially if you have people that understand the markets behind you to help you find all of that.
All right. I'm looking forward to seeing those unicorns coming from the NFT space. Yeah, truly. I think NFT is a much, much better version, really, of a utility token. And
there is this game called Axie Infinity. I think they have like
right.
3 billion valuation, something like that. So maybe we have the unicorns here.
Yeah,
Cool.
but did Axie Infinity start with just fan funding? Because they have pretty large funding now, right? Like they're actually funded. Yeah. So.
Okay, we'll look it up. We'll look it up a little later. So that'll be interesting. So I want to ask one last question, or do we have more time?
You have about 5 minutes left.
5 minutes? Okay, cool. Because I saw a black square come in. Okay. It's like, are they coming to take us? I want to talk about casinos for a minute, because it is a casino esports conference at the end of the day. And the funny thing about casinos, the traditional casinos, and just the traditional gambling industry, those floors in Las Vegas, and other places, casino capitals of the world, their profits or revenues have been falling, and even before COVID started, right? So I saw that in Vegas, they recorded like a 3.5% fall in revenues in 2019, right before COVID. So why? Just like in any other industry, everything is moving online, right? So the cool thing, though, about the traditionals is that they're kind of looking at the emerging industries, and it seems like esports and casino seem to have found a good marriage. There are lots of competitions being held at casinos, the traditional ones, right? Now, what about the virtual? What about the virtual casinos and just the gaming? So what is the relationship that esports have with traditional gaming platforms? Is there like good opportunities here that are happening to increase the industry and to increase revenues for each other, right? Both for the esports and partners. So why don't we start with Aaron?
I don't know of any off the top of my head. Vlast might that are currently doing it, but I think one really interesting thing that you might see in the future is right now, right? You got the large betting rooms that happen at the casinos, right? Where people are watching the horse races, they're watching the games, etc. Is to one day see esports up on those giant screens, right? See those big tournaments up there, the tournaments that are hosted virtually, right?
Yeah.
And then conversely, to see it in a virtual metaverse where you and your avatar are walking around the casino and you walk into those rooms, directly from the slots that your avatar was just playing. right over to that room in there, because the metaverse is going to be a big thing, and I don't think there's anybody that doesn't believe that, right? Like you having your avatar and everything you have in the metaverse, and the ability to have those casinos will be huge. So
That is really, really interesting, Aaron. I didn't, if we explore that further, you're walking in like a Decentraland casino, and then you're seeing an esports tournament, and then you walk there. The rest of the people in the casino and they'll watch you on the screen over there, right? And then
Right.
you can, yeah. But the thing, you can bet from the casino on that game, right? So but if you're a pro player, and then you're also there, so it's kind of freaky, but really cool. Vlas, do you have something to add?
Yeah, I agree with this is a big opportunity for casinos to move to the metaverse, and but it's hard to get it right, and nobody, I believe, right now know how it should work, how it should look like, because it's a completely new area. But the options are limitless there, right? Because we can do anything. I can start playing a game, others can watch me, bet on me, or like so many possibilities I can have there. I can watch the esport titles. I can watch it from the eyes of the players, just bet on them, what they see, what they don't see, and replay it. And like so many options for the casinos. And casinos is a big problem that they need to attract the younger audience, and they don't know how to do it right now. That's why they are experimenting with the esports, holding all the tournaments and everything. But they are trying to attract the audience, and they don't like slots. So it's there is still a lot of work which needs to be done to like have the final or that very good marriage between the casinos and esports. But I believe it will take some time, but there will be very good synergies, and actually people will be coming to Vegas just for esports.
All right, we got a question here. How are NFTs valued in the gaming space? In reality, Sotheby's will value art. So how does an NFT create its value? Aaron? Unmute.
Sorry. So the thing is that the crypto space and even the NFT space is one of the truest forms of capitalism, supply and demand right now, right? So the NFT's value is based entirely on the demand of it, right? And how do you create that value? You create some hype. It comes from somebody that is very well known, right? Or someone very well known owned it. Or if it's an NFT that's a functional item within a game, then maybe that item has significantly stronger abilities, powers, etc. Or it was used famously in some tournament with some crazy upset, or it was used by some famous player. It's instead of looking at NFTs as digital blocks of art, when you start talking about them in the gaming space, look at them like maybe Babe Ruth's bat, or a signed baseball, or just a piece of art that was owned by somebody or made by somebody, right? Instead of looking at it as just this digital thing, if you start thinking about it in that realm, then you're now connecting your kind of metaverse thinking with the tangible universe that we live in. And that's kind of how NFTs can create value. So a lot of this is speculation on how big the metaverse is going to get.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's of course about you have some limited edition, like 10 pieces of something, and then it's limited. When it's coming from someone who is very known, who is famous, then it will get some value, because exactly you are speculating that the value of this item will grow in the time, because you believe that that person won't do anything like this. You have the unique proposition. So I completely agree that it's like signed baseball bat from this super match, which was happened 10 years ago. So same thing for the NFTs. So the value is ultimately based on how much are you willing to pay for it.
Cool. I would add one more point here, is that the difference between the NFTs created in games and NFTs created for art is that the gaming space itself, the more valuable it is and the more it's viewed by other individuals who played by individuals, then the higher the value, the potential value of the NFT. So I would say, create your NFT. If I were to create my NFT, I'd probably do it in a platform that I think is going to grow and flourish. So more people buy it and see it, and then my NFTs will go up in value. So I think the importance of platform is clearly here. I think we're coming to the end. There was another question which I can assume is about creating multiple NFTs. Oh yeah, okay. How do you prevent multiple NFTs from the same blockchain? Can there be NFTs that are the same? So what do you guys think?
I mean, okay, so you can mint 10 identical NFTs, but those NFTs aren't actually identical because there's a provenance that comes behind them of who has owned them, right? So yes, the visual aspect of it and is the same, but the who's owned it, where it's come from, who minted it, how it was made, etc., makes each one unique in that manner, even though the visuals are the same. If that makes sense.
Okay. But how do we, how do we retain value in that situation? If I can create a second NFT with the same visual, even if it's not original, like, does it really matter to the user that this is the original one, or does it knock off? It's almost like a bag, Gucci bag and a knockoff.
Well, that's a good question, right? Like, so I've got a Mona Lisa that sits in my room, right?
Mm-hmm.
Love the painting, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not the original,
Mm-hmm.
right? I still paid quite a bit for it, but what's the original worth?
Got it.
Right? That's kind of the thought process there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
You can own just one Mona Lisa, but you can make many screenshots just printed somewhere. It's not the original. It's similar. It looks basically same, but it's not the original, and that's what I'm paying for the original, for the feeling that you have the original, and others don't have it.
I would actually even say, in terms of game or esports attributes, sometimes you may want to keep a possibility to create knockoffs, which is and sell them. Let's say you want to, you want everybody to have the hat with your, with your design and stuff like that. And I think that the retailers, the virtual retailers or whatever that are abundant now in these virtual universes and stuff like that may be able to sell the copies, right, of the NFT, and the NFT and maybe even pay the NFT creator to license, right? So please stop us, the organizers and the gods of this conference, whenever we need to go. Otherwise, we'll go forever because the questions are coming and they're really good. What authority determines the original?
That's a really good question, right? So within the blockchain, an NFT is a smart contract. That's how they're minted, right? So there's a smart contract that's created and that mints it, right? That's the authority that determines the original, right? So you can go back into the provenance of your ERC 720 token, which is your bare bones basic NFT, and you can look at where did it come from and where was it minted? Was it minted from the official smart contract that was used for that NFT?
Okay, cool. So that that is a good that is a good way to find the original. Okay, I think the gods are back, and so
This is the CEC God speaking. I'd like to thank you guys all for joining the panel. Aaron, that was very, very informative. Yael, very, very nice. Thank you. Last meal, very nice. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you stopping in, and have a great rest of your day. Take care.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. You still there, Ari?